And we are live. Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock, Tuesday, December 16th. One game on the docket for all the marbles. And ultimately, this game doesn't count at all. NBA Cup Finals, Knicks, Spurs. Get excited. We're about to. I'm Josh Engelman. That is Eric Lindquist. And we're going to be here till 8:30 breaking this one down. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and follow us both on Twitter. We got NBA Cup basketball. I'm pumped.
Yeah, it's going to be good basketball, I think, tonight. We had good basketball both games last time, especially that San Antonio OKC game. Now OKC, well, with them out, San Antonio's a dog, which is kind of fun for this. We've got some really consolidated minutes on the Knicks side. We have some volatility, I think, on the Spurs side that I was kind of alluding to before we started this, which I'm excited about. I kind of am leaning my lineups towards embracing it. Yeah, it's NBA Showdown, so kind of a different beast than anything we've talked about together so far this season.
And it's a really unique game to me because, for all intents and purposes, the Knicks are what they are. Like, we expect massive minutes to all five dudes that start. If something happens to one of them, depending on which one it is, you probably see either you probably see a little bit more of either Mitchell Robinson or Jordan Clarkson, maybe Tyler Kolek, but ultimately we're expecting a ton from the Knicks. On the Spurs side, we have absolutely no idea how much Wemby is actually going to play today. De'Aaron Fox realistically is the guy that you expect to play the most minutes confidently because he's De'Aaron Fox. But Harper, Castle, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Julian Champagnie, Harrison Barnes. I think that group is where the slate gets won.
Agreed. Yeah, there's no doubt about it whatsoever. The Julian Champagnie thing is very interesting. We see a lot in Showdown too. This is probably where I'm hoping that some of the public money that we've seen that's been infused into the last 2 months of NBA DFS, I hope it continues today. It should. And as such, people just like seeing what just happened and applying it copy paste into what is going to happen. And that is not the way that this works. So we might see some inflated ownership on a couple of guys. We might see some reduced ownership. Now, one thing that we talk about a lot for playoff games, Josh, is, guys like Alex Caruso, where they come from this spot where they're playing 11, 12, 13 minutes during a regular season because they don't have to push them. And then you unleash them here. I don't think there's really that guy on either side. There's guys who can get hot and play themselves into more minutes, but I still think San Antonio is the more interesting side to take some shots and get a little bit different. But the Knicks side, it's so consolidated. Do you have anybody right off the top that oh yeah, this guy could play 28 minutes who played 15 last game? Because for me, that's Julian Champagnie every single time I go through this.
On the Knicks side, for me, it's Mitchell Robinson, and that's it. He's the only guy that I could see playing additional time that typically doesn't. I can't, barring injuries and stuff, I can't see any scenario where it's Jordan Clarkson. He's just not, they're going to pick on him like a scab defensively in a one-game scenario like this. I think it's Mitchell Robinson because, one, they could just go, they haven't been doing it, but if it's not working with Josh Hart and they go double bigs, we know they go that direction. Towns, foul trouble or anything takes you to that path too. He would be the guy that I think has any, we have him in for 18 minutes. It wouldn't shock me if it's 24. I don't expect it. That isn't the direction they seem to be going. I'm much higher on Towns today. But that's a guy that can get 6 more minutes. And if he does, you absolutely, I'd be shocked if you don't have to have him. He'll get there on rebounds alone.
Agreed. Yeah, it's just such a fun slate for stuff like that. And obviously, Julian Champagnie still played a ton, but he didn't do anything on a 2-game slate that people were playing. And sometimes you see that fall through the cracks to some extent. And yeah, I don't know. The more I keep running lineups, and I told you as well, I'll tell the people now, I'm playing a lot on FanDuel today purely because they had a lot of overlay tickets over the course of the last week. If you were, jumping in some of those, I tried to highlight when FanDuel had a ton of overlay the last couple of slates. Ended up getting myself quite a few tickets over there. So primarily playing there today. I only have one lineup on DK just as a placeholder. So this is not my typical showdown analysis, showdown slate for me personally, but obviously we'll talk through both.
Yeah. So let me hit the high end of everything, DraftKings and FanDuel to start. Jalen Brunson, projected 50% owned. We get Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, and Mikal Bridges all around 45. Then you get Castle around 40. Fox, Harper, Mitchell Robinson is like the line where it drops because you get Fox and Harper in the 30s, falls off a cliff after that, 20% to Mitchell Robinson, everybody else below that number. On the FanDuel end, 50% to Brunson. You get 50% to Bridges, 50% to Anunoby, basically 50 to Towns and Castle, 45 for Josh Hart. Wemby, 25. We'll have that conversation back and forth between DraftKings and FanDuel. But like realistically, all of the ownership is going to the main names from the Knicks and the top names from San Antonio. Everybody below that is just some mix of like 10 to 20% owned. I want to touch on the Wemby on the DraftKings side for a second. 11,600. Unknown playing time at this moment. We have 25 minutes in right now. 3% captain ownership, 19% regular ownership. I said this on the strategy show this morning. I assume whatever we have in here for Wemby's ownership, it's absolutely higher in the contest. Because people are just, anybody hand building on their phone and shit don't care about minutes limits and whatever. They're just going to put him in there. I find him really difficult to get to today because of that, because my assumption is he's just going to be like 7 in the captain spot and like 28 regularly owned. But it's a tough thing to model an individual like Wemby just getting clicked on because he's Wemby. How do you feel about him today?
I feel like his captain ownership is the rake. Like, yeah. I think no matter which site, FanDuel, he would be the guy that you could potentially look at and say, all right, he had 8 stocks and found himself 55, like over 2 fantasy points a minute and completely smashed. On DK, there isn't a planet where I'm clicking on him in a captain lineup. Like, it just makes no sense to me. And if we have 3%, as you said, there's like an artificial ownership hand building. People are like, Wemby was so awesome last game on Saturday. Wemby is the best. And yeah, he probably is. He's absolutely incredible. One of my favorite players to watch on planet Earth. I took less on his 20 points for a prize picks card. I'm more than happy to do such things. I do think, you know, the quote that we got where it's like his minutes are going to mirror what they were on Saturday. Maybe a little bit smoke and mirrors. Like, if you need to bring him back earlier, if there's a run, you're going to put Wemby out there for 24 minutes and 25 minutes is what we've got him for. Like, that's fine. Played 21, like, whatever. I doubt there's a ceiling there whatsoever for minutes. And that's like, if this goes to OT, I bet they still sit Wemby in an overtime. I know that that's like maybe a bummer to the NBA Cup, but like, if it's a competitive game, you have to need, this is a hard minutes cap, more so than like other dudes. Like, this is going to look like a Jonathan Isaac minutes cap of sorts. And so like, how you click on him in a captain lineup, unless this entire game just flops and you get like what we got last year, where I think it was like 186 or something. I can't remember the exact final score of Milwaukee OKC, but this game is not scored in the box score. This is not something statistically that is going to carry over for any player in play. And, you know, Wemby's still out there trying to win. Everybody else is still out there trying to win the 500K for everybody. But like, there's no planet where I play him in captain. I think utility, he's just fine. And if that dips, if that were to dip, sweet. Like, there's lots of ways where he beats out 2 or 3 guys that are in that grouping of Fox, Castle, Hart, Bridges. I doubt Brunson, Towns are going to be affected in some capacity where like he's beating them a majority of the time, but there's no question we see the captain the exact same way where it's, again, I think that's just the rake of today's slate.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think 28 minutes, anything more than that, I would be just real shocked. My guess, my hypothesis is that they're going to be like relatively light with him in the first half And then if it's a high leverage scenario through the third and fourth quarter, they probably dial him up a little bit more. I assume because he played 20 minutes in the first one, a very regimented 20. It's hard to believe they just let it rip on him today.
Absolutely. I've been looking at like first quarter markets. He's not a part of a lot of it. I can't imagine coming off the bench here that they're going to do anything unless this game gets wonky early, that they would want a majority of those minutes coming out of the first half. He's got 16 first half PRA over on Prize Picks right now, kind of like looking around at some other spots, but like it feels extremely thin to try to make Victor Wembanyama any kind of a stand today. Extreme luxury item. Like to the highest order, but like utility only over on DK. He's not going to crack a singular lineup for me on DK on FanDuel. I mean, it gets really wonky trying to sort out what you want to do with a guy who obviously could accumulate blocks and make you look like an absolute dunce cap really quickly, but he is 3,800 more than Karl Anthony Towns on FanDuel today. It's asinine. It's an asinine number on Wembanyama, and the stocks alone are making him interesting to still get to if that were to be high. Like, it's just wild that he has higher ownership overall on FanDuel at such a ridiculous tag now that they're kind of constructed the same way. So curious what you think about him over on FanDuel just because of what those stocks can be.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here. Like in the flex spot, I think it's fine. It's just really hard for me to picture him beating Towns and Brunson by enough that like you also make his salary work by hitting the bottom. Can it happen? Yeah, absolutely. I had a Twitter thread about what it looks like when he is the captain, but I don't see it. It's one of those things where like I don't want to have him in any way in the captain spot. I hope I'm so wrong and he goes out there and plays 30 minutes and has like some preposterous game. I would rather see that than like this happen here. This is a situation I would desperately want to be wrong for this. It's way more fun to watch. I just don't think, like, obviously if he plays 25 minutes, he can have 60 fantasy points in that time. And it wouldn't catch me off guard in any way. Really unlikely. That's all. It's just that's really unlikely.
Yeah, it's a fun talking point though, because obviously this is like when you get those expensive, like Jalen Wright yesterday. Jalen Wright on the Dolphins, he plays running back for the Dolphins, Josh. As I was building
I had no idea.
I was just kind of like, huh. And I was working through props. He was at 17.5 rushing yards. And I'm kind of like building out like, and I played a lot of Showdown yesterday for the Pittsburgh Miami game. And you get this expensive spend up at running back. And it's just like this huge outlier. And he ended up higher owned than we had projected. And he was projected for like absolutely no ownership because like his props had no reason being there, but people just artificially play it because he had 100+ rushing yards in the game previous when Devon Achane got hurt. So like, it's this kind of deal here where like this is more realistic than a Jalen Wright yesterday because, you know, Jalen Wright would have needed to find pay dirt and add a lot in the box score or had something happen there. But official word that we got the exact same starting there on the Spurs side. And I just don't see how Wemby isn't somebody that you realize could end up higher owned. And we have to be very, very careful with how we utilize him.
I thought they were going to start him.
No. Not if you want him to play as much as possible in the second half. Like he seems like a pretty selfless superstar dude for what it's worth. Like, yeah, you want me to play the entire second half. I totally get it. Like, he doesn't give a shit about starting or not. He's still going to be the best dude on the floor every minute he is out there.
There was a part of me that thought they were going to do like the first 6 minutes of the first quarter and the second quarter and then treat his second half rotation like it's normal. I mean, realistically, like, I don't give a shit if he's starting or coming off the bench. Like that, like the plan is likely the plan one way or the other. Like this doesn't, I would imagine we're not nothing's going to change for that lineup coming out right now. Like that was the expectation, I believe.
Yep.
So that's the Wemby discussion. the next discussion right now, Towns 13-2 on FanDuel, 12-8 on DraftKings. It's 10-6 Brunson on DraftKings, 10K for Towns. Do you have a preference between the two?
Yes. I want you to say who yours is first.
Unequivocally, Karl Anthony Towns.
Good. Jalen Brunson has gone inferno hot, but there's so much more shooting dependentness, I suppose, to a Jalen Brunson here. And if you're going to give me equal ownership on the two, I just have to take Cat at a $600 discount when you play him in the captain, right? Like is it as simple as that, where you have rebounds and points for a guy as opposed to just the path of like majority points? Obviously, the assists aren't exactly at zero by any means. He's a point guard. He's got a decent enough assist prop, but like Cat has so much rebound equity attached to him, and he's cheaper, and it allows for me to leave salary on the table of same lineups that would be Brunson Towns. There's fewer combinations attached to him.
I don't like the spot for Jalen Brunson, and I think it's just naturally better for Karl Anthony Towns. And I think that while we generally just assume like Brunson's about to play 39, 40, 41, Towns is usually a bit behind Brunson. I think Towns can get, we've got a 4-minute gap right here. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being 41 Brunson, 38 or 9 Towns, if this breaks correctly. Not likely, but I think he also has the ability to take on a couple extra minutes. I just hate to me, this is like a Brunson assist game. It's not going to be fun. And I've written about it today too. It's not going to be fun at the point of attack, whether it's Castle in his jersey or someone else. But if he beats that dude, he's got a hell of a line of defense behind him. Like, it's not like Victor Wembanyama is going to be a fun time. I could see Brunson dumping it off a little bit more here tonight if Wemby's as active as I expect him to be. And if that's the case, that just naturally puts me on to Karl Anthony Towns. I also took some sort of alt Towns prop, 28.5 points as part of my bonus bets.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What did you end up taking for him on that? I'm looking at this Brunson thing because I'm running it on the side here on my own stuff.
I think it was like around plus 400 or something at 28.5 points for Towns. I was like, yeah, sign me up. Bonus bet style.
I like that. Well, you're looking for anything better than plus 300. That's always been like the number that like my bonus bet will be this or greater, period. Or, I talked through the token for underdog today. It's automatically going to be plus 300 for playing a 2-pick, but like plus 500, I'm still looking for the optimal build, looking to build it optimally and do things there where you have fixed odds. But I like that. I like that a lot. And also, Jalen Brunson, this is kind of an interesting one. Jalen Brunson or Stephon Castle straight up assists?
I'm going to look to see what I have it at.
There's some interesting markets where at least Castle, I think, is maybe the guy I might want to take shots on there. But
I got Brunson by a lot.
Okay. Fascinating. All right. Then I'll stay away from that. There was just one market in particular where you can kind of like do the head-to-head market. Sometimes you get like this outlier number relative to like where their stats are. And I've tried to pay more attention to those on like DK, FanDuel, Onyx odds, stuff like that. But like Onyx, they're not posting them anymore. And so I've kind of gotten away from it. But this is a standalone game. I was kind of like looking at any edge, and there was a market where it was like minus 160, I think, on the Brunson side. And I was like, that didn't seem wide enough. But you would argue that it's not, that it needs to be wider. I thought it was like too close as it was. Like plus 140 on the Castle side, I thought was interesting.
I am aggressively ahead on the Brunson side.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah. Whether or not that's the correct thing to do, I don't know. But I'm heavy on the Brunson.
It would be. It would be if you've got it that narrow. I mean, we're talking about like one assist in the marketplace, and it's plus money on 6.5. So like, I'm just looking at FanDuel because like they're the sharpest of the books. Minus 125, 6.5 for Brunson, plus 118 for Castle. You could just probably take the Castle side between the two of them. But yeah, in terms of pick 'em, Brunson probably a decent enough spot.
So we hit the Brunson Towns piece. There's another pay up ish out here. I feel like De'Aaron Fox is like a ghost in this game. And it's not that I don't like him. That's not where I'm leading it, but like he feels so disconnected from like Wemby, Brunson, and Towns. And then like I feel like the 6-7K range is just like so busy. Do you have a feel here for De'Aaron Fox? Because realistically, like if I told you he played 39 minutes, would that catch you off guard?
No, it wouldn't, but it would surprise me a little bit just because of Dylan Harper. But 7.3% captain ownership is the thing that stands out to me there. That's just an alarmingly low number to not reach the double digit end of things with Castle Hart right below him there. That's where I think it's pretty appealing. I mean, Stephon Castle for 800 less is pulling quite a bit more captain ownership. And it's fascinating when you talk about the difference of Brunson and Towns there, the 600 gap there, 4 minutes in difference. Still, I totally understand why the field's getting to a Brunson captain there all the way up. Like in NBA Showdown, a lot of the times I'm leaning towards spending up for the guys who are going to put up the most fantasy points because you can kind of mix and match some of these other pieces and, look for the right combination. I don't understand De'Aaron Fox being at just 7% because, as you said, he's got a minute's upside to it. I'm just a little bit confused. So I'm right now on FanDuel. That's the other kind of like interesting inflection point for me is figuring out exactly what I want to do with like all of these spend up dudes. And specifically De'Aaron Fox is 9,200 on DK. Like I think his captain ownership is too low. And I think his ownership in general is about efficient. Like I have no issue with that specifically, but like if I'm building out 150, if I'm building out 20 max, getting to at least getting to at least like 10% De'Aaron Fox, I think that would be something I'd absolutely 100% do because there's more of a minutes upside than downside on 34 unless he turns an ankle or gets massive foul trouble, which is not really in his repertoire.
I have a ton of them right now.
That a man.
Yeah, I do. I have a ton of Towns. I have a ton of Brunson. I have a ton of Fox. That is leading me in a very, very specific direction right now. And I'm totally cool with it. I'm interested now to hear a bit more for you, since you're on the FanDuel side, about value, because it's different on FanDuel than it is on DraftKings. Like, for example, the value play du jour on DraftKings for today is more or less Dylan Harper, Keldon Johnson to a degree, but Dylan Harper's 30% owned, Keldon Johnson is 20. It's a very different dynamic on the FanDuel side, where the pricing structure is all very different. Like Luke Cornett is the pay down value at 3K. He's the highest owned dude that's like separating. How are you handling value on FanDuel?
I'm very careful not to have a ton of like Wemby Cornett. That's one thing that on FanDuel, I guess it's probably applying to DK as well here too. But like Luke Cornett, if you're just going to have him split the center minutes with Wemby basically and just 1-for-1 in there, I do think that he's going to be somebody that I'm just fine with when it's all said and done here. I'm finishing out some of the tweaks from stuff we talked about, but Tyler Kolek's the guy I wanted to ask you about. This is probably the value dude that I don't know what to make of 16 minutes against Orlando. I really, really don't. And you go to Popcorn Machine, you work through it, and it's like, all right, he's just kind of like doing the McBride thing. But in a do or die, one game to rule them all, one game to find them, NBA Cup style, what is the potential minutes there for Kolek? Because Kolek right now is the second best value score that we've got right now, point per dollar. He's only 1,600. And Yabusele, while he was teammates with Wemby, and there could be something where like maybe they give him a couple of minutes to potentially like neutralize something he does. Wemby's so good that like I don't think they give a shit in that capacity. But Tyler Kolek over Jordan Clarkson, I think is something that I'm trying to figure out and navigate. This might be like my really off the wall play for FanDuel purposes, because like 3-4% for him, just it feels like too wide of a gap between 26% ownership to Cornett.
I have 15% of them on the DraftKings side right now, which is right in line with the field. I mean, realistically, I don't expect him to get that kind of run, barring injury. Like, this just strikes me as a spot where they're going to lean on everybody at the top end. It also wouldn't be crazy to me if they prefer him over Jordan Clarkson in that sort of like, this is the guy that's going to get a couple extra minutes role. Now, at least from an ownership perspective, like, they're basically the same guy on the DraftKings side, Clarkson and Kolek, that is. From a FanDuel side, Clarkson and Kolek are the same. Again, essentially unowned at 4%. I feel more comfortable about Tyler Kolek than I do about Jordan Clarkson if I'm comparing those two guys.
I do too. And part of what I wanted to highlight here is the fact that Kolek started the second and fourth quarters, and he's just eating up time that, you know, you get an opportunity to get Brunson off the floor. So he gets a chance to actually put up some stats and do some things. Like, you have Jordan Clarkson, who's playing alongside Jalen Brunson for a lot of his minutes. In fact, I think he had the stint. He started the fourth quarter, so like 3.5 minutes for Jordan Clarkson in the fourth quarter. Those were the only minutes he wasn't on the floor with Brunson. Otherwise, the Knicks play like exclusively through him. I feel like Kolek gets an opportunity. Like, Jordan Clarkson, you could say this about every game for Jordan Clarkson. If he doesn't knock down shots, he's useless to you. But like, I feel like Kolek can do a couple of other things, and he's playing backup point guard minutes. I know that it won't be that many. I know we have 39 minutes in for Brunson, but like 10 minutes for Tyler Kolek, I think has a chance of being extremely valuable in a way on FanDuel that isn't being represented. And, you know, 1,600 for him. He is by far my favorite sub 3K play to get to. Mitchell Robinson's kind of its own conversation too. I think he's very underrepresented on the FanDuel side, where he could at least add some other stats to the dealio. 4K for him. I like Cornette. I like the idea of getting to him there as well. I'm not getting to as much Wemby. So like, if I'm going to leave salary, like 1,000, 2,000 on the table and have some independent lineups, I like the idea of Kolek, Cornette, Kolek, Mitchell Robinson. Like, these are kind of my big stands on FanDuel. It's a lot more so in the flex spot because I'm just eating Towns. I'm eating Brunson nonstop on FanDuel out of my 37 lineups. I think there are 30 of my 37 lineups right now on FanDuel. On DK, it is far more spread out for me when I built out 150 there.
So I'm in the 4-point play as per usual when I'm doing these live before locks on DraftKings. I've got Towns and everything. I've got 90 of Brunson. I've got 85 of Harper. His price is just tough for me on the DK side. And then I've got two more guys heavily. De'Aaron Fox, 65. Josh Hart, 65. Everybody else is 30 or below. So I'm kind of scattered after that. And it's chunks of mostly those San Antonio dudes. Tyler Kolek, 15. Jordan Clarkson, 10. I barely have Devin Vassell, which I guess leads us into Nicholas Johnson's super chat. What about Devin Vassell? I don't want to say this with my exposures. I can say that I have 5% of him. That is not how I feel about Devin Vassell. But like, you got to take bites out of some of these San Antonio guys. There's 6 guys. To me, there's 6 guys for 3 spots on San Antonio. And Vassell is one of those 6. Right now, he's not the guy I have. I've got more of Barnes. I've got more of Champagny. But I don't have a lot of Vassell. But not because I don't like. That's just where I'm drawing a line. He should be out there for like 30 minutes.
What's really annoying is like he went completely inferno to finish out that game against OKC.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they need to close with him. Like, Keldon Johnson's odd man out for this rotation with Wemby back. It's just really hard for him to play well enough to put up a fantasy viable game in a lot of his places. So like, Keldon Johnson's really my odd guy out. I don't completely hit eject on Devin Vassell. And Dylan Harper, there is a lot of worlds where you can keep Dylan Harper on the floor against the Knicks more so than against OKC to finish out that game. And Dylan Harper still got to 25 minutes, didn't go completely scorched earth. In fact, he probably played the worst out of everybody in that fourth quarter from what I remember. And Devin Vassell went nuclear. They kept Vassell on the floor. That could easily flip-flop and wouldn't shock me if it did at all and go the Harper direction. So I'm with you. We're like, Devin Vassell is volatile. I have more of him than you do, it sounds like, even on the FanDuel side of things. But the sentiment remains the same, where I don't feel as confident as what ownership is for him. So I'm going to be light in some capacity, and I'm going to be heavier on the Dylan Harper side. Harrison Barnes not showing up a ton for me, even though starting the first, third, fourth quarter, still pretty secure there. Stephon Castle, I'm a Castle guy. You're not, but like, I think Stephon Castle is very good at basketball. And
I think it's a really good matchup for him.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to be
the only concern for me for Castle is if Brunson's getting a good whistle, he's going to get him out of there quick.
True.
Because he's going to be all over him. And like, depending on how that breaks, that could go poorly for Castle. But like, I like it for Castle.
Yeah. We need to go back and I don't know. We need to get UConn days Stephon Castle where he didn't have a whistle. They ate the whistle so many times when it was him and Klingon together. Holy shit. I'm not sure if anybody played a lot of NCAA DFS back in the day, but those guys, it was insane. Spencer was on that team. Oh, UConn was ridiculous. That team 2 years ago was so dumb, stupid good. And yeah, I'm a big Stephon Castle guy. So hopefully Jalen Brunson isn't flopping and getting whistles, because that would really suck.
He is whistly a bit. Steph Castle so far this season, 4.6% foul rate. That is a 9th percentile outcome among combo guards.
It's not good.
Part of the reason I'm a bit scared, like he's a boom bust dude today, because he could lose playing time very easily, or this could be a big time Castle game. Castle game.
And that's where I'm hoping Dylan Harper comes along for the ride a little bit more than Devin Vassell. Is that kind of how you feel too? Like I like the Harper side of it quite a bit. I played him in a fantasy card as well. I think we're maybe even a little light on Dylan Harper. I want those, like what his fantasy outcome can be in a game environment like this, going up against Kolek, going up against Brunson. I can't imagine that they're going to have any of the other guys over on Harper unless he's going scorched earth. So I think Harper's in the best spot of everybody.
Don't forget, folks, you can download the Tails app if you're interested. The link is in the description. Whether it's Eric posting bets or any of the other 200 plus people on Tails posting bets and pick'em cards. I've been posting bets and pick'em cards and DFS information. I took a look at optimal rates and how they look different depending on who your captain is, whether it's Wemby or OG Anunoby or Steph Castle. All of that stuff on Tails is free. You can follow along. It's not going to cost you anything. If you find somebody that you've been following and they have a paid package and you want to try to follow them a little bit further, you can do that if you need to. But ultimately, it's a free app. Download it, hop into the App Store, leave a rating and a review if you can, because I think you're going to enjoy this, and we are making it better every single day. So make sure you're checking it out. Tails is awesome. It's been blowing up lately with incredible content. Something else is about to blow up. It's a nuke. Nuke of the Nighttime NBA Cup Finals Edition. By the way, Alper and Şengün, decent day.
Unbelievable. Him and Jokic. I got to 30% Hardy. That was an oopsie, but at least I didn't full out jam him, and I had like 100% Cooper flag, and it could have been really, really fun. But what was not fun, Najee Marshall. If Najee Marshall could just like, it might as well have been Marshall Mathers out there playing basketball, because I got just fun. It was not fun, but great shot. Great. That was nice for you to take the nuke rain from me. That was great.
I tried. I don't know how this one happened. I don't know how often Tyler Tech is sending the name Debbie, that it's auto-correcting here, but do we know how many minutes Debbie is getting tonight? 0. I'm going to call Wemby Debbie for a while now because of this. We do not. We are projecting 25. That seems to be like a general consensus, but it's the NBA Cup final. It's not like they're going to come out and be truthful no matter what comes out of their mouths. It's not in there. All they need to do is say that he's available. Anything else we hear is coach speak, and I don't trust it. We're assuming 25. That's how many we're getting from Debbie. What are we getting as a nuke from Eric?
All right. So I mean, it's a showdown slate. So like it sucks that I can't go Mikal Bridges where he's in like 55% of my lineup. Stephon Castle, I have more of. Dylan Harper. You know what? That's probably going to be the nuke. He's at 20% pool ownership. So 19.4% ownership over on the FanDuel side. I think we're just a little light on Dylan Harper. It kind of is the guy throughout the day running stuff and like end up throwing him in some pick'em cards and like just feels like we're light on a 5K on FanDuel, Dylan Harper. And I think DK more than fine to be firing up here as well. The sentiment remains the same, but I don't want to go to like Cornette, Kolek. We're talking through them because they're more interesting to me, but Dylan Harper, I think, has a chance to play a lot more than 22 minutes if need be. It doesn't have to be Vassell closing this out. If Harper's playing well, creating, I know that it's weird to have him share the floor, I suppose, with Fox and Castle and everything all together, but there's lots of closing lineups, I think, where it could surprise you. It surprised me that he played 32 minutes. Vassell did, closing things out last game, even though he's the guy who got paid. But Dylan Harper, nuke of the night.
So this is an interesting dynamic for me because the guy that I'm going to is only in one of my captain spots, which will be surprising once I continue to talk about him. Riggs. Sorry, my dog just bumped his way into my office in like the most sheepish way possible. Buddy, if you've been sitting out there the whole time, my bad, dude. I didn't know. My bad. You're a good boy. Thanks, buddy. So I only have this guy in one captain spot, which surprises me based on the amount of ownership that I have to him. Realistically, I would say that it's Harper. You took it. He's in 85% of my stuff. It's different on DraftKings, but like I love Dylan Harper for today. But I'm staying on his team, and it's not the direction anybody's going, it seems. Give me De'Aaron Fox.
Oh, my. Let's go.
Why not? Well, Wemby out there, spacing the floor a little bit more, giving him room to operate. A Knicks defense that is uninteresting when Karl Anthony Towns is at the 5. The potential to play multiple extra minutes because he's De'Aaron Fox and is on a max contract, and that's just what he's going to do in a situation like this. I think he's in 65% of my stuff. Now, he's not, like I said, one captain. So that's 5% captain, 60% flex. I'm cool with that. So he is my nuke of the night, but like make it a tinier bomb because I don't really want him to be good enough to be in the captain spot.
You're talking like a 49.5 fantasy point outcome, De'Aaron Fox. I like that.
My captain spot is essentially made up by Towns, Brunson, and Dylan Harper. And I am leaving like staggering salary in some of these situations. I see a 1,000, 1,500, 1,100, 1,200, 1,200.
Check this out. On FanDuel, 37 lineups I've got. I have 6. So I have the full 60,000, 59,900 I'm looking at in my first 2. 56,200, 58,200, 56,400, 56,800. I'm leaving like 3,000. And part of that is the Wemby thing, where if you don't play Wemby in a lineup, it just leaves naturally a ton on the table. So maybe people get there a ton, but yeah. Oh, Rich bringing up Fox as his captain nuke. If I were playing DK today, I would have so much De'Aaron Fox captain at 7%. Is he still 7? He's 6.2%. He's gone down throughout this show in captain ownership. All right.
I have one lone Mikal Bridges captain lineup, and I left 1,500 on the table for it. Bridges, Brunson, Towns, Hart, Harper, Champagny. Anxious to see what that sim ROI really is.
Yeah, it's going to be lovely. I like Julian Champagny a lot for this game too. Just a little less than I like Harper, where again, I think we have him correctly projected, but I'm just kind of like going through other box scores. He never plays above 26 minutes ever, but
no,
23, 24, 25. You give me that. He can be very, very fantasy viable. And that's what I like. Fantasy point per minute guy. Whereas like OG, even Mikal, like those guys, like they're getting there on minutes. We can get our guy Dylan Harper to spike some upside. Let's go.
Oh shit. I didn't see this, Ethan. My bad. Shout out to Josh and Eric. Finished up 5K last week off some Tails and DFS content. Awesome. Much love. Is low cost captain on DK a move today? If so, how low in cost? For me, no, unless it's Dylan Harper, at least on the DraftKings side. I am soaking most of mine up with Towns and to a lesser degree with Brunson. I didn't really go low outside of Dylan Harper. Depends on what your definition of low is. On the DraftKings side, like I find it hard to really want to go too frequently below that like 7K range with all those Knicks guys.
Yeah, I am looking at this. I have 32 of my 37 lineups that on FanDuel and the main thing over there that have Towns or Brunson. It is over on FanDuel. I'm just jamming those two. Wemby's a really good flex play just because of the stocks and what I do think people are potentially doing with their lineups there. I'm a little nervous I really don't want to look at what the ownership ends up being for some of these guys, but like I feel pretty confident in both of them being like by far on FanDuel the best captain plays in a place where I'm just not going to the mid range. On DK, yeah, it's still going to be. I'm just looking through my top 150 there. It's still going to just be a ton of those two. Mainly
for me, it's Towns on the DraftKings side, but it's my second choice is Brunson. So 8:29 and 15 seconds, 45 seconds to lock, folks. If you don't have your lineups in yet, what in the world are you waiting for? We've talked about it already, but let's bring it up one last time. Who wins?
San Antonio. I took the points with San Antonio. I ended up getting a +3 right before this show, and I'm sticking with it. So go San Antonio.
I will be cheering for San Antonio because I think it's more fun. If the Knicks don't win, I assume I'm not going to have a great DFS day, given the amount of heart or given the amount of Towns and Brunson I have. If it's close, either way. But I am hoping that the Knicks do a little bit better, just given the exposures that I have. We're locked, man. You ready to go watch the NBA Cup Finals?
NBA Cup time, baby. Thank you, everybody, for kicking it. We have a 2-gamer tomorrow, so I think Greg and I will be on for that one. Looking forward to it, but check out Tails. Should have some other great stuff coming up. I didn't make the NBA schedule. Let it be known, I would have probably done this differently the last week and a half because this sucks, but 13 games on Thursday. You ready to rock for that?
Yeah, I'll start working on that tomorrow at like 5 o'clock in the after. Like, you know, it's going to take 3 hours to prep that. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the slate itself. I'm not looking forward to the preparation that it takes.
Same. I have 1 of 37 that has Wemby as the captain. I wanted to throw that out there too on FanDuel. I was just going through my final exposures on things, but you want to take a look at ownership while we're here for like a minute, just because like it's fun to.
I can say this much. In the 4-point play, Victor Wembanyama is 8% owned in the captain and 34% overall.
Wow.
So that's we had 3 and 20 in here.
Here are the 3 that I wanted to get for the MVP on FanDuel. We got Jalen Brunson, 23%. We got Karl Anthony Towns at 15.5%. That makes me pretty happy to look at because I flip-flop the two of them. Wembanyama's 10% owned in the MVP spot on FanDuel. That is
that's free money.
Chunk of change. I'm kind of regretting the one lineup. What is that? Like just less than 3% of my allocation there. That is just so ridiculous. On DK, as I said, I would have 0% because he doesn't have the stock upside. But like to have,
look, I hope it's the winner. It'll be so much fun to watch.
Yeah, 50% MVP ownership between those 3. If you did anything else, going to be interesting. Only 21% ownership on Luke Cornett at 3K. That's interesting. Mitchell Robinson 16.3, Champagny 15. I feel pretty good about my lineups. Just seeing some of this ownership ended up lower on the cheapies on FanDuel. That's fun.
Good luck, everybody. I'm ready to go watch some basketball. Go my bets and my lineups. We'll talk to you later.